wonderful weather. I ordered some Spanish weather for this video. So I hope you enjoyed last week. Well, actually last week wasn't a video, it was the presentation with information as a reference for you on the 5 basics of Doma Vaquera. So this week, I promised that we would talk about the first basic, which is moving forward. So the basics were, if we recap, it's moving forward, stop, backwards, moving, yielding to your leg, left and right, and also changing direction through your leg aids, left and right, obviously. So moving forward is actually, we're going to start with that one because it's actually the most important one. So if you're not moving forward, you can't do anything, right? So you can't stop because you're not moving. You can't leg yield because the horse isn't going anywhere. So if it's not moving, then you can't really do anything. You can't backwards, you can't do anything. So introducing moving forward to a young horse, to any horse, because sometimes you have to reintroduce it, is really important. So make sure you make a good impression. So it's that first impression of leg aids. So you have to make sure that that one's a good one and that they really understand what it means and that you don't take no for an answer. If you ask something, you have to get a response. And if that response is, just a regular, can we walk off, and you get your horse is running away, I'd rather have that than getting no response at all. So this is extremely important. It really depends on the horse. Every horse is different, obviously. Some horses are more forward than others. Isolde is extremely sensitive, so I always compare her to a Ferrari. So if you're used to driving a tractor, imagine then getting in a Ferrari and having that sensitive gas pedal. That's pretty much what Isolde's like. So she's almost the other extreme. She actually doesn't really accept your legs. So with horses like that, you also have to pay attention, because then you have the question where they're not really accepting your leg. So where you would think, a lazy horse, you have to kick him all the time, which is what most people do. And horses that are forward, you have to stay off. It's actually the opposite. So with horses that are very forward, you have to make sure you keep a constant contact, because they're so sensitive. Usually horses that are really forward are quite sensitive. So you have to keep constant contact with your legs, because then when you do want something, if you had kept your legs off and then you ask for a response, it's too big. Because they're so sensitive, it's too big. Then you get this extreme response, and what you want is more relaxation, because those horses tend to be a little bit tense as well. So with a horse like Isolde that's very forward, you want to make sure you always have contact with your legs. You embrace your horse with your legs. With a horse that's not so forward, a horse that's, lazy, I guess you'd like to say, you want to make sure you keep your legs off. So then when you do ask something, the difference is bigger. So, these horses don't respond to your leg that much anyway. Why would they respond to a kick every step they take? Because one of the annoyances I have when I see riders, I guess for other disciplines, because Doma Vaquera is different like that, is that they kick their horse at every step, and the horse doesn't react. It makes me tired to watch it, to be honest. And if you consider that Doma Vaquera, and that has to be in the back of your mind, I told you that last time, everything you do, you have to consider that you're riding on the campo and you're herding the cattle, so your horse has to respond. It's all about response. It's about discipline from you, the rider, and obedience from the horse. So the horse has to obey your leg and every aid, because if you don't, that could mean, death, basically, if you want to get really extreme. So it's really important that your horse really listens to what you say, responds to what you say. Everything you do, you should get a response. And it all starts with this simple first basic, which is moving forward. Because like I said, that's your first introduction to your leg aids. If your horse doesn't listen to you when you just want to walk off, just want to, go from standing still like we are now to walking off, why would he listen to you if you want him to move left or right, or, yield to your leg? Why would he listen to that if he doesn't even have to listen when he has to walk? So you have to be super strict, and you have to, be very disciplined in how you condition your horse to listen to your leg. And I see a lot of riders, they're tired. I mean, they only ride for maybe 45 minutes and they're super tired, or they're taking off their jackets and they're like, aren't you hot? You know, it's so warm. And I'm like, no, I'm not hot because my horse is working. I'm not working. Again, because I'm thinking from that principle of working in the field, you know, herding the cattle or whatever for maybe 6 hours in the saddle. You know, if I have to kick my horse every step of the way, then I'm going to be tired after a half hour. I mean, because I'm a lazy rider. I don't like to work in the saddle. I want my horse to listen, and if he doesn't listen, I'm going to make it clear what I expect from him. So that's what we have to do when we teach moving forward. We have to make sure we're very clear what our expectations are. We ask a light aid. We expect our horse to move forward. In the beginning, with the young horses also, and this is what I also see people do, you know, they're too worried about what he's doing with his head. You know, is his head, you know, is he nice and round? Is his head down? Who cares? You know, you're never going to get there if the horse isn't moving forward from the first place. So you have to make sure he's moving forward, and not only moving forward, he's moving forward in an active way, and without you having to ask him to remain active. You know, you have to make it clear what it is you're expecting him to do, and then if he doesn't do it, then you correct that. But in the meantime, he has to keep doing what you asked him to do. So if I ask her to step away, or step off, walk off, then I expect her to do that and not, you know, question that, and also do it in an active way. So again, my apologies for my lack of technology. I'm saving up for a Pixio camera because I think they're awesome and probably the best way for me to do these videos and for you guys to benefit from it. But so I have a limited space. Hopefully by the next time I do a video, I will have my Pixio camera. And we'll be moving to a different location to do our videos as well. So I'll have a limited space, so I'll be a little bit at the back. I won't talk. I'll come back and talk about what I did. But I'll just, you know, show you, you know, stepping off, stepping away, walking away, and the response you want to get. Like I said, you know, when we say move forward, we want to make sure our horse moves forward actively. So I'll try to show that from that distance. I hope you get that. So I hope that was a little bit clear. You know, and I know I probably, this sounds super stupid to be talking about this even, but I can't stress how important it is to get this right with your riding. If your horse can't even step away actively from a halt, how is he going to go from a backward to, you know, sprinting off? Because that's what you have to do. You have to raise, you know, shift gears eventually, because this is the beginning. This is just the beginning. If your horse can't step away from a halt into a nice active walk, you're never going to get him to be able to do a piaffe or passage if you're doing dressage. You're never going to get him to be able to canter off from a halt, or canter off from a backwards like we do in Doma Vaquera. I'll try to show that a little bit later. So this is super important. So what you want him to do is step off, step away, and step away actively, and you know, not after a couple of kicks. I'm talking now, so when I step off, his shoulder's a little bit, you know, sleepy, but once I'm moving, you know, and she gets it that we're actually working, then she's super active. But what we want is them to, you know, step away and step away from behind. So what you should feel when you step away is that you feel her hind quarters drop, and then she moves off because she's stepping her hind quarter first, her hind leg first, and then she's stepping off into her walk. And then she, you know, so basically the engine's going already, you know. She's really already starting to move actively, because that's where it all comes from. It comes from behind. So that's what we want to see. We want to see that active movement. And like I said, because if you can't do that, then you can't, you know, the next step would be from walk to trot. And the next step is from trot to canter. And then you go back again. You shift back, and then you say, okay, I want to go from halt to trot. And then you say, I want to go from walk to canter. and then you say, okay, I want to go from halt to canter. And like I said, in the end, if you would break it way back down, then you say, okay, I want to go from backwards into a canter. So those are the basics. So let me show a couple of those transitions to make it clear what I mean. And let's see if Isolde's awake today. I have to admit, I'm wearing new breeches. Note to self, don't wear new breeches when you're going to do a video, because I can't really stretch my legs enough as I will, so it's kind of pushing me back in my saddle. So as I go along, they're stretching out more and more, but still, it's not a good idea. So I'll make sure I don't do that next time. Okay, so I'll show a little bit more of what I mean. So I know that was probably not very clear. I do apologize, but just showing those transitions from halt to walk, walk to trot, trot to canter. Everybody knows those transitions. So then I said, like I said, then we want to be able to shift gears. We want to go back a notch. So then what do? We want to be able to go from walk to canter, or from halt to trot. So I'll try to do a couple of those. Okay, I'm sure that wasn't clear. Isolde, she doesn't understand either. She's like, what do you want? She's all plugged in. I always say with Isolde, once she's plugged in, you can't unplug her. So then, so once you've established that your horse reacts immediately to your leg, then you just have to, all you do is fine tune. So just like with those transitions from a halt to, a walk to a canter, or even a halt to a canter, it's all about just fine tuning, right? It's like, you're out of the shot, Isolde. It's about fine tuning how much aid you use, and each horse is different, so you have to find out how much do I need to get my horse to respond. But like I said, you have to remember, if you already have to use a lot of leg, and you're tired after an hour, you're doing something wrong. Then your horse is not forward enough. And if you have to use a lot of leg just to get from a halt to a walk, or let's say even a walk to a canter, I mean, because it's still pretty basic, then you're doing something wrong. Then you need to go back, and that's kind of the thing. Every time you run into something and it's not, the horse isn't responding the way you want to, there's probably one of those basic things that are going wrong. So you have to go back, and you have to reestablish just the regular halt to stepping away. But it has to be a quick step away, and it's not a step away where I ask 10 times and then your horse slowly starts to move. No, I ask and it moves active, like I said, and that's what we're looking for. Oh, wait, there's a big nasty fly. So you have to be very clear on what you want. So eventually what you should be able to do, and I hope I'll remain within the shot, what you'll eventually have to be able to do is to sprint away from backing up. So what we'd call arrière et templar, so basically running away and slowing down, but then at a certain point you go arrière, you sprint away, you stop, So it's this, this not so much the sliding stop. You have to stop, back up, then sprint away again, and then stop, back up, sprint away again. So I'll try to show that, and hopefully it'll come across, and hopefully Isolde's responding well, because she doesn't understand what we're doing. And there's also, they sprayed the arena, and then there's like these dark spots on the ground, and apparently those are really scary. So Isolde is always lovely with stuff like that. So she is a princess, and we love her for it, but sometimes it's a little bit annoying. So let's see what she does, and I hope you get a good impression of that. That's Isolde being all amped up. So that's eventually, so when you're thinking of getting your horse to move forward, that's eventually what you have to keep in your mind. That's what you'll have to be able to do. So think of that when your horse doesn't respond, when you just ask him to simply walk off. No, you have to be able to sprint from going backwards. So the most opposite of moving forward into into a sprint, and then again and again, all in preparation of what you would have to do in the field, unexpected movements from cattle, etc. Your horse has to be obedient. It's above all the most important thing, but for your horse to be obedient and even submissive, you have to have discipline. So that was just a little bit, because I can't show you much due to the lack of technology. Like I said, I'm sorry. So I hope that was a little bit clear already. Watch some videos, watch on my channel. I have also playlists. Watch those, some interesting ones. We also highly support the channel's Parada a Raya, amazing channel about everything Doma Vaquera. You see great riders there, all in Spanish, so you might have to brush up on your Spanish, but even without understanding Spanish, it's an amazing channel to watch. Super interesting interviews, talking with all the best riders of Spain, and explaining what they do and how they do it. So subscribe to the channel. Send me comments below if if anything's not clear about what I showed, because it's hard to show it from here with this camera work. If you have any questions, just let me know. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. I hope you like the videos. I've gotten lots of good responses from everybody, continuing to do this in English, and now doing the presentations as well. So next week, then I'll post a presentation about moving forward with all the bullet points, do's and don'ts, what to watch out for, things that are important when teaching your horse to move forward. I also promise you, or owe you, let me put it that way, a video on lunging. So I did the little video on lunging. Also, not the best camera work, but still, so I promise you a presentation on that as well. Just explaining the basics and using it as a reference, and what are the things you have to watch out for. So then you have something to reference. Who knows, like I said, maybe one day a book. It would be great to do that, because I really want to help people be able to do this beautiful discipline. We see a lot of other disciplines coming up, disciplines like working equitation, also beautiful, but there's nothing like Doma Vaquera. If you can ride those other disciplines, great. But if you can do Doma Vaquera, for example, you can absolutely do working equitation. Other way around, not. If you can do working equitation, you can't necessarily do Doma Vaquera. So it's a very special and unique and beautiful, bonita discipline. So, hope you enjoyed again. Next week, more. I'm back in the groove, so keep this going. Hopefully next video, so that's not next week, but the week after, I hope I will have a Pixio to be able to show some good footage, because if we're going through all these basic steps, I want to be able to make sure that you understand what we're talking about. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next week.